From Boston, Massachusetts, to Adelaide, Australia, and everywhere in between. Talking local and national sports and just about anything discussed in a tavern. Broadcasting from South Lyon, Michigan. Welcome to Easy Speak at Speakeasy 330 with your hosts, Rich and Tom.
We are back. Welcome to the Easy Speak podcast. If you look on the corner of my name, I could be slightly hungover. Just got back literally an hour and a half ago from Nashville. Spent the last 3 days in Nashville. Went to see Luke Combs at Nissan Stadium last night. Caught a Predators game while I was down there. Had a hell of a time. And anytime you get to Nashville, if anybody's that you know has been there, I'm sure they'll all say the same thing. It's amazing and crazy at the same time. So glad to be home. Had a little bit too much to drink. So looking forward to get this thing going. We're going to be talking about some Lions, latest news. Rich and JP and myself have put together a mock draft 1.0. So we'll be showing that to you guys. And the Pistons, new coach, who's it going to be? We're going to speculate on that. So without further ado, I want to bring the other fellas in. We got Rich and we got JP. What's up, fellas?
What's going on, Tommy?
Gonna power through this bad boy tonight for a crazy weekend.
Dude, you've been in the car for 9 hours. You're just fine.
Actually, the lovely Christina drove the last half of the trip because couldn't keep my eyes open, so she took over the wheel.
Puss.
Up him.
Puss.
Yeah, which is interesting because last night was probably the best night of sleep I got the whole weekend. Couldn't stay awake. Left Thursday morning. Finished up my other show. Uploaded it. Got to bed at 2. Was up at 4. Drove 8 hours and had no problem. But got 8 hours sleep last night and had an issue. So
you can turn right over your right shoulder and grab that thing right there and make that hangover go away.
Well, may have had a few too many of Coors Lights. That was the majority. Oh, moonshine. A lot of moonshine.
A lot of moonshine.
A lot of old
NFTS.
smoky. Yes, it was an interesting weekend. So
Milwaukee's charging back now.
Oh,
mm-hmm.
Yeah, Milwaukee's charging.
Giannis gets hurt tonight. We'll talk about that in a little bit, but we'll start the show off tonight with what Mr. Jasper likes to call the Pontiac Pussycats, the Detroit Lions. Latest news or whatnot. I guess there hasn't been a whole lot since the last time we went on air, but obviously we've got draft season coming up in a couple weeks.
Wait, hold on. Some of the biggest news that happened is the trade of Jeff Okudah.
Oh yeah, Jeff.
We didn't really talk about that. So
no.
obviously he was a high draft pick with 3rd overall in the previous regime, right? The previous. Yeah. We don't like to talk about them. So it kind of goes to tell you the inept that we had going on here for a number of years where we drafted terrible. Mm-hmm. And honestly, he struggled from the rip because of injuries. He couldn't stay healthy. He got drafted and he got inserted into a defensive scheme that did not play to his strong suit. Right. Kind of like a lot of the things that the previous regime did is they backfilled players, whether their talents or their skill sets were conducive to how they set it up. And remember, they set them up for failure.
And remember, they were the smartest guys in the room, so you couldn't tell them otherwise. And that was made sure the very first press conference that they were in. But yeah, I mean, you figure Okudah gets picked 3rd, and I don't think any of us sitting here today were really happy when they made that pick at 3 for that corner.
Yeah, who was in that draft that we could have got? It went right after him.
Herbert.
Yeah,
Herbert.
Yep.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Well, he can have fun getting cooked twice a year by Mike Evans.
Yeah.
So in 3 years, he goes from a 3rd pick in the draft to traded for a 5th round to the Falcons. So, yeah, I mean, it just goes to show you the state of the Lions now compared to where they were back then. But
I mean, yeah, if you look at it, he was kind of odd man out for what they did in the offseason already with their signings. Gardner Johnson, Sutton, Mosley, Jalen Reed-Maben. He's coming back, right?
Yeah.
So, and then you got the draft coming up.
I think it sends a message that they're going to go corner for sure now.
Yeah.
Because they only,
not necessarily. Not if you got 2 picks in the first round, you got 2 picks in the second. You could. You
signed Mosley for a 1-year deal, though. You got to have somebody more long term.
Yeah, you're valid point.
Chase, did he go 5? Is it that draft?
Nah, I don't think so.
You know what? I think he might be right. I think is this?
I want to say
no,
Chase
okay.
The year after.
Chase was the next year. That's right. Because this is Chase's 3rd year coming up in the NFL. So
yeah.
But I guess moving forward, looking into this draft, and one thing I will say, I trust Brad Holmes. Whatever he ends up doing, the picks that he makes, or if he makes trades for more draft picks, I trust this guy. I trust this organization, and I think we can all agree those words have never been uttered out of any Lions fans. And within, I don't know, the last 57 was their last title. I don't know, between now and then, I'm not good at math. I can't tell you how many years it is. But as a Lions fan, it's always been doom and gloom. And, who's the next pick that's going to be a bust? Not anymore. I mean, I believe and I trust in Brad. I trust in, Sheila. So I do believe that.
Don't quit your day job, bro.
Oh, I know. I'm telling you, my boy.
That was terrible.
Yeah, so I got to add a little flavor.
I think it's easy. It's easy for us all to be optimistic for them when you look at the situation in Detroit with the Red Wings, Pistons, and the Tigers. It's kind of the only thing
I don't even want to even talk about the Tigers, but
right.
Although 2 walk-offs back-to-back days, hey, got something brewing. Not likely. Anyways,
no. A blind squirrel finds a nut every once in a while.
This is true, and it also falls out of a tree and dies before he can ingest it. So, I guess, Rich, I'll ask you here: what do you see as their probably biggest need that they might address early on? Whether it be first, second round, what's the one position that they probably are more apt to go for?
So my personal thoughts, and we kind of did those mock drafts, and it did a simulated draft, and you kind of picked exactly where it was. But some of the stuff that I wrote down in my notes over here, what I'd like to see is I would like to see anywhere on the defensive side of the ball, whether we're going to go up front and we're going to maybe even move up to get a Will Anderson, maybe, or if we stay put where we're at. I mean, I'm very good with Witherspoon. That's kind of my 2. I'm not really sold on, even if he's there, Jalen Carter. People say that, he's got some good accolades that came out, through interviews, and especially interviewing teammates and stuff like that, where they praised him on some things, or some things were interesting, as they want to say.
He has Dan Campbell has a unique way with words. I'll just say that.
I would like to see him do the defensive side of the ball, because obviously we were 32nd in the league and defense. We were absolutely putrid. The only way that you're going to be, you got to stop. If you can score, that's great, but you got to be able to stop. Yeah. So I think maybe getting another guy on the line, or getting somebody in the back. Me personally, I think if you get another guy in the front, up line in the trenches, he is going to make the guys on the back end better, because they're not hanging them out to dry. They're getting pressure. They're getting the ball out of the quarterback's hands faster. So that's my opinion. I'd like to see them get Will Anderson, whether they move up to 3, because Arizona might be shopping that pick. And there's some other
a lot of help.
Yeah, and there's some other suitors that go along that would like to have that 3rd overall pick. I think if Detroit doesn't move up to 3rd, I got a feeling that Tannehill's time is done, and I don't think they're too sold on Malik Willis. I really don't. I think they're going to be probably branching out and looking for maybe a quarterback, and they might move up to get Anthony Richardson. I don't know. Speculation.
Malik Willis 2.0.
Yeah. So,
JP, what do you sitting here right now? What do you see as their biggest need? Maybe not necessarily who they'll end up picking, but what do you see? Like, what do you think that their biggest need is?
Well, I don't think that they're done with corner yet. Obviously, they just traded Okuda. They signed Cam Sutton to a 3-year deal. And then Mosley's kind of on one of those 1-year prove-it deals. He's coming off an ACL injury. You got Jerry Jacobs, who's a serviceable guy. So I wouldn't be surprised if they go with corner. I mean, if you really love Will Anderson, you could package up some picks and send some picks to Arizona to move up, because at the end of the day, this team has a lot of young, talented guys and that they're going to have to pay here pretty soon.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't be too bad of an idea to maybe move some picks over if you really love Will Anderson and you want to move up for him.
Sure. I mean, if there's one thing that Brad Holmes has put the Lions in a good position is to, with say the Rams draft, the Rams trade a couple years ago, he was looking down, further years when he made that deal to get another first round pick, which ended up being a huge deal for the Lions. So he's put himself in that position to be able to do that almost with house money when you think about it, if he wants to move up and make that pick.
I think good general managers are kind of looking 2-3 years ahead.
Yeah.
Kind of not how Les Snead did it. I mean, they got a Super Bowl out of the deal, but they were one of the top 5 worst teams in football last year.
And no end in sight. I mean, they mortgaged their next probably 10 years to get a Super Bowl, and they won. And so is it worth it when you think about it? Like 1 year and then, 10 years or maybe whatever the case may be of futility. It's Rich. What do you think? Like, do you think, if putting ourselves in as Tiger fans, flipping sports for a second, the Tigers sold their soul with Miggy's contract, and I think they were looking at 3 years. They didn't really care about the next 6-7 years down the road, and they ended up winning. So is it worth selling out for one Super Bowl, or as a fan, do you not want to see that?
I think if let's talk about it in the terms of the Tigers. They sold their souls because Ilitch wanted to win a championship.
Yeah.
They absolutely I'm sure Dombrowski was under the thumb of Ilitch saying win now, and it was kind of one of those things where Dombrowski was like, I really don't want to spend the money on that guy. Then Papa Ilitch says, hey, F you, I'm going to make that phone
hot call. Readies left and right to pay for this guy.
And he just calls, he just sidesteps his general manager and his president of baseball operations and signs a guy to a deal. When it comes to like anything in sports, doesn't matter what team it is. I get it. The end game is to win championships, right? Mm-hmm. Here's the thing: none of those teams lose money. Oh. None of them. They all make money.
Sure they do.
So it's not a losing business for them. But the competitive part wants them to win.
Yeah.
So some have the thing was like, if I get one, hey, I've accomplished something in life. My name will always be enshrined somewhere, saying that I was a Super Bowl champion, I was a Stanley Cup champion, or whatever you want to call it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, you're noted for, you're really known or remembered for one. You want to build a perennial year over year over year over year, and that's pretty much the way I feel Brad Holmes is going about this. That not only that though, he fleeced his old team. So I mean, I'll take that.
Yeah, which was one reason why I thought maybe Ramsey would come here, but I also think that he felt like Ramsey could be like a clubhouse killer, which is kind of with his attitude. So they kind of shied away from that, and he's a little bit long in the tooth. This is a team that's very young, a team that I'm sure he wants to build for the foreseeable future. So
look at the major contributors who are still on rookie deals: Sewell, Hutchinson, Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Yeah,
those guys are all 3 of those guys are due to get paid. They're all pro level players. You know what I mean?
And you want a culture that they're going to stay. Like Sewell loves being here. These, and obviously Hutchinson loves being here. and moving forward, the culture is going to be, more friendly for players that are going to want to build something here. And when you got the coaching staff that they do, it helps. These guys have been there, they've done that, and they've walked in their shoes. And I think the players respect that. Coming in, they know that they can't BS their way through a camp, that everything they get, it's going to be earned. And these coaches are going to hold them to the fire on that one. But I do agree with Rich, what you said, building up that defensive line. I think that really is going to take a lot of pressure off that secondary. And it's not really going to focus on having an all-pro level linebacker when you're getting the push that you would get from a defensive line with Hutchinson, if they were ever able to get Will Anderson, which would be amazing, and even Jalen Carter there up the middle. That would definitely make that secondary that much better when you have a quarterback running.
People aren't talking about Houston enough, though.
Say that again?
You got Houston, who had 8.5 sacks last year, and he only played the last quarter of the season.
Yeah, I mean, and you want to talk about, he was the 12th round pick.
I think it was a 7th round pick out of Jackson State, right?
Jackson State. I mean, that shows you the level of Brad Holmes' ability to sniff out talent.
Malcolm Rodriguez and Houston, both 6th round picks.
Sixth round.
Yeah, 6th round.
Pretty high production.
So you have players that and they were key figures. I mean, Rodriguez came in right out the chute, right out of camp, and he earned his spot. So
Rodrigo,
yeah. So I trust Holmes. So we put together a mock 1.0, the Easy Speak 1.0, and kind of gave us an idea of what we might be thinking wise. Obviously, it's probably not going to happen.
No.
But we'll start with you, JP. I'll put your mock up on the screen here, and you first round pick Devin Witherspoon, the corner from Illinois.
So I made a trade. I traded the 6th pick to the Titans for 11 and 41. So I figured my first pick was at 11 was Devin Witherspoon, corner at Illinois. Like I said, I don't think they're done with corners yet. You go down to 18. I got Lucas Van Ness, edge rusher from Iowa, built like a Greek goddess. 2nd round pick 41, which was from Tennessee. I took Kalijah Cansey, defensive tackle from Pitt. I think a little bit of pass rush up the middle. Once again, this was fun. Who knows if he'll be there? Pick 48, I got Quentin Johnson, wide receiver, TCU. I think he kind of gives you a big target.
If he's there at that spot.
If he's there, once again, this is all for fun.
Yeah.
55, I got Noah Sewell, linebacker from Oregon. Brother Panay, beast. Third round pick, number 81, Hendon Hooker. If he's there at that pick, I don't think you're wasting more than 15 seconds to pick up the phone and make the pick.
Not at all. Not at all.
No, I don't think so.
At 152, I got Oluwatimi from center from Michigan. I think that's a huge pick there. A guy who was Remington Award finalist, I think won it, to back up Ragnow, who we know has had health issues. And then Voorhees, a guard from USC, just more offensive line depth. I mean, if you can find a couple guys like that in the later rounds, then that definitely helps your team.
Yeah, and we'll remind everybody that we just did the first 5 rounds. That wasn't the whole draft, and we just focused on the Lions, what their needs were. So, Rich, I'll move on to you. I'll put your mock-up on the screen here.
You see where mine went. Mine was only the first 2 rounds.
Oh, so he didn't follow directions, but that's okay. But we get an idea what direction he's going.
I don't care. No, so yeah, I'm with you, JP, on that. I stayed in the 6th spot though, and Devin Witherspoon. And then at 18, I took Joey Porter Jr. Why not? Because he was there at the time. According to my mock draft on there, he was the best available. Then I went with in the 3rd round, I went with Luke Musgrave, Oregon State, and Keanu Benton, interior lineman out of Wisconsin.
I mean, obviously, the main focus, I think, a lot of both of your drafts so far, defense. And what do you like to say, Rich? We've said it in the show before. It's the games won and lost in the trenches.
Yep.
JP goes offensive trenches later or mid round. So that's the the meat and potatoes, so to speak, of a winning team. If you can't block, if you can't rush, you're going to be in bad shape. So I kind of emulated a lot of what you guys went. I made some trades. The first round, I moved back one spot with the Bears, and I was able to pick up an extra second round pick. And I went Jalen Carter. And I know the jury is not out on him. You know, he didn't complete his pro day, but I think a lot of people are looking at what he's put on tape, and he's just a disruptor. And I like that. If you got a guy that's able to get to the quarterback, that makes it harder for them to double team Hutchinson or Houston. Got to going with the 18th pick, Joey Porter Jr., build up that cornerback. You can't go wrong. He was probably, it depends on who you look at, one or two as far as corners go for the season last year in college. Hendon Hooker, he's moving up the draft board so fast. I wouldn't be shocked come draft day he moves into the first round. I was shocked if this was like pick 60 that he was there in the second round. His knee injury is not going to be an issue whatsoever moving forward with him. Obviously, knee injuries are a dime a dozen. These guys come back pretty quick. We don't need them to play right away. You got a year or whatever the case may be with them. So you got some time. Cody Mauch, I remember watching him in the combine. This dude you want to talk about meat and potatoes. This guy is a wall on the offensive line, North Dakota State. So he doesn't get a lot of publicity, but he made his name known as far as the combine went. So he did real well. And here, I just think I got a line of Alabama guys. I got Battle, who's a safety. He's athletic. Henry Toa, another really athletic. I think he's a Malcolm Rodriguez type of linebacker. And obviously Detroit is really weak at tight end position. I like Latu. Started out really hot. He kind of fizzled toward the end, and I think that's why his draft stock has kind of plummeted a little bit. And then some more help in the middle of the linebacker. Ivan Pace started his college career at Miami of Ohio and finished strong in Cincinnati. This is kind of a homer pick. Schoonmaker. I'm not too sure if he's going to be there it was like 118th pick. I don't know. Does he have enough on tape? He had a pretty good year last year and they got hurt. So we'll see. I like him. He can catch the ball really well. And then shoring up that defensive line, Moro Ajoma out of Texas. So again, it's guys that they get dirty, they get gritty, and they're Aaron Glenn type guys, they're Dan Campbell type guys, and that are going to come in and make an impact pretty quick. And that's kind of the direction I went. And I feel like you guys felt the same way.
Don't you guys get the feeling, like looking at the mocks and like projections, that linebacker is like the new running back position of defense? You don't really see linebackers that are like truly valued like they used to be.
Well, I mean, it could be a size factor, maybe. They're lining them up on the D line a lot of times, and then they're dropping them back into coverage. So it's more of a hybrid role, it feels like, coming out of college. So maybe that has something to do with it. I agree with you. You
look at Nakobe Dean, who went third round last year, I think it was. All indications are that he's probably going to be their starting linebacker for a team that was in the Super Bowl last year.
Yeah, you can't go wrong with that. Well, there's our mock. We'll hopefully Mr. Jasper will find a couple extra minutes and do another one for next week's show. We'll just keep doing that until the draft happens, and then we'll do our big draft show. But moving on to the Detroit. Oh, I got the wrong one there. Never mind. That was the wrong clip. I must not have entered that right. The Detroit Pistons are looking for a new coach.
Yes.
And they can't mess this one up. because as
you mean they didn't mess up the last one they had?
JP gave us a little nugget.
No, go ahead, JP. Share that little nugget of information, please.
Yeah, of who they should have had in 2018 instead of Dwayne Casey.
Yeah, so the Pistons in 2018, when they were doing their head coaching search, interviewed Ime Udoka, who you guys know was the Boston coach who took them to the finals, longtime assistant to Greg Popovich, and they hired Dwayne Casey.
Yeah, but I mean, if you go back to 2018,
Detroit sports.
Do you guys hear that? It's the Benny Hill theme song in the background. Yeah, pretty much.
But Dwayne Casey, what was he, 2 years removed from an NBA Finals championship in Toronto? So yeah. I think that is probably why they went in that direction. But although always, you look back in the coulda, woulda, shoulda file, and to think that they could have had, him at head coach there, and then to see where they're at now. But obviously there's a list of potential candidates. And like I said earlier, they got to get it right. They have a group of young athletic talent that potentially could, make some noise in the East if they had the right kind of direction, if they bring in a coach that might even bring in some free agency. Rich, you got anybody that you think can come in here and make an impact?
So one of the first things that we heard was that Troy Weaver was going to have his quote unquote requirements. He's got 3 requirements in his coaching search. One is he wants to make sure that the coach that they bring in instills discipline. 2, he's got a way of developing the players, especially the younger players. And then 3, defense. Everybody knows in the NBA, there has not been shit for defense. I'll tell you right now, playoff game going on right now. I'm not going to tell you the teams because if I did, they'd probably end up throwing us off to here. But I will tell you that it's like 8 or 10 minutes left to go in the fourth quarter, and it's like 110 to 100. Mm-hmm. It's like, why can't we go back to where these teams could barely score 100 points every night? Yeah. So with that being said, there's a couple options that are out there. The one that JP already brought up, but one other guy that is supposed to, that they're searching for an interview for, and it probably have to be after the playoffs because right now he's currently is one of the assistants for the Milwaukee Bucks. But Charles Lee, I mean, he comes in. It's a championship team, right? He's been there. He knows what it takes as an assistant. But also Milwaukee's also been one of the best defensive teams. Not tonight, but one of the best defensive teams in the NBA. So that's kind of encouraging. And then another guy that they're talking about, Chris Quinn, who is an assistant in Miami, and Miami is a solid basketball organization, right? Winning culture there. And Quinn has been there since 14, so he's been around. He's been behind. I keep calling the guy looks like Eric Estrada, the younger version.
How long has he been there now?
He's been there forever.
I mean, he wins.
But he wins.
Throwing when Riley stepped down. Figured he was there for maybe a lap dance or two, but he's been there like 15 years. It's incredible. Yeah. It's Eric Spoelstra.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, obviously winning teams that they're a part of. It's important to bring in guys that are prone to winning so they can spread that into the clubhouse and get that, I guess, culture going in the right direction. JP, who do you want to see brought here to save the Pistons?
I think obviously you look at it, Udoka's at the top of the list. As you said, Charles Lee would be a good one, winning pedigree. Quinn. The one that kind of questioned me a little bit is that they interviewed Kevin Ollie, who, I mean, he won a national championship in 2014. He won 127 games, but I'm pretty sure he hasn't coached in like 4 years because he's suing Connecticut for wrongful firing. And so I kind of was wondering what the hell was going on with him.
Maybe Connecticut has a deal with the Pistons saying, hey, please give this guy a job.
Yeah.
And we'll do
what I understand is when they tried to fire Kevin Ollie, this is what he said.
I'm not fucking leaving.
I don't know if it's true or not, but that's what I'm hearing.
I think though, if you can get Udoka, which is probably the time to strike right now, because he's probably going to take any job that he can get, and it's been rumored between us and the Rockets, maybe. But I think if you can get him on a AJ Hinch type of circumstance, you know what I mean?
Very true.
It'd be a 30-yard dumpster fire or a 20-yard dumpster fire.
Let's be honest, guys. We don't give a shit what they do as long as they win or as long as they can play, right?
Right.
Yeah, I agree.
I go back to what you said, Rich. There is no defense in basketball, and anyone's ever watched this show, they know my stance. They've heard me say it. The NBA died after 2005. The Pistons seem to rewrite the playbook not once but twice in the last 30 years. So it's hard to find a coach that's going to really go out there and preach defense, and that's what you really want. But I think most importantly, you need a coach that can kind of relate to these players. They're so young. So they need somebody that, you know, can kind of speak their language and has their mojo. And I do think Lee could be that coach. He's 36. He's young. And he's been with a winning program that plays defense. So I agree with you, Rich, 100% that's a possibility. I'm hearing this would be a Joe Dumars type of a move here if he was still the general manager. Jerry Stackhouse, he's a coach at Vanderbilt. I don't think that'll happen. I think Stackhouse has pretty much let his opinions know. He's very happy where he's at in Vanderbilt, although he's kind of building up that program. So I don't think he wants to come to the NBA and be really put under the microscope. I think he likes being developing his coaching ability in a power conference, but not a flashy school. So I don't think that'll happen. Nets assistant Brian Keefe was mentioned, who has experience with Troy Weaver. He worked with him in a couple different positions, and Kevin Durant has credited him to helping his development early on in his NBA career. So knowing that is definitely somebody that you want to come in here and be able to, take some of these young guys and really show them the game and learn, because coming out of college, these guys are a year or two and that's it. So I don't think they've matured enough, and obviously they haven't had the right coaching. So being able to have a coach that can come in and develop, that's what you want. But it's been tough times in Detroit as far as the Pistons go. When playoffs 3 years ago, they were swept by the Cavs, and it's been really tough. And I'm tired of watching them lose, and just like every other team in this city. But the Pistons have a special place in my heart. I loved back in the day the Bad Boys, the Going to Work Pistons. That was Detroit personified, and I'd love to get back. I'd love to have that Pizza Palace rocking and rolling. It would be amazing to see. But
hey, would Jerry Stackhouse teach a guy how to shoot the ball 50 times a game like he used to?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's. I do think
and shoot 32% from the field.
Yeah,
I do think
25 on 50 shots.
That's a gimmick pick, and I don't see it happening. I don't think he really.
Yeah, and that's a lot of people were saying here in the area, like, go get Chauncey Billups. It's like, you know what, I get it. There's nostalgic behind that.
Portland's
However, you got to take that nostalgic and you got to put it away. Like, it's like,
I would trust Billups a lot more than Jerry Stackhouse. I mean, because who made him a winner? Larry Brown. I think he would take some of those coaching intangibles and kind of put them to
guys won 60 games in 2 years with one of the best players of its generation.
Yeah.
Lillard.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So
no,
maybe
thanks.
I don't know. But again, I think it's all gimmicky, and you got to put gimmicks aside, and you have to put the right guy in that's gonna make these guys at least want to win. So
it's like when the Tigers hired Brad Ausmus because he could bang every chick in Detroit and still didn't win no games.
Oh, he was terrible. He was terrible. But that's a good segue. Talking Pistons NBA playoffs is underway. Like Rich said, there's the games going on right now.
Yeah.
Predictions.
And here's the thing is I don't get this is, I've been, if you see me looking up is because I got the TV on, I'm looking at it. And what is there to review in basketball? It's like the ball goes in the hoop, 2 points, it's behind the line, the ball goes in, 3 points.
Yeah.
This is like the third review I've seen. But anyways, regardless of that, so you got the Eastern Conference, the Western Conference. I'm just going to give you my first round selection on who it's going to be. So I'll go ahead and lead this off. So I'm going to give you the first. So we got the Bucks versus the Heat right now. Currently speaking, Miami's up 13 points on them. So with that being said, I got the Bucks taking the series in 5. I think this is probably might be the only game that Miami's going to win out of the series, obviously. JP, who do you got?
Well, I predicted the end of it. I like Phoenix out of the West, obviously, if they can stay healthy. And then I like the Bucks, but we'll see. Obviously, we've seen Giannis go down today. So we'll see how significant that injury is. But I think when you look at those two lineups, you look at Phoenix with Booker and Paul and DeAndre Ayton and Durant, and then you look at Milwaukee with, the Middleton and the Holiday and Giannis and Portis off the bench. That would be an intriguing matchup for me, but it's the NBA, so who knows if anybody will stay healthy.
True.
Or play.
True.
Especially Durant.
Yeah.
He's infamous for not making
like rolling your ankle on a layup line.
Oh, so if you want to go straight to the finals, who's my prediction in the finals? I'm with you on that. I got Phoenix, and I got Phoenix, and I got the Bucks in the finals, and I have Phoenix taking it just because I think they're a little more
back in.
They're a little more deeper of a team. Tom?
Yeah, I guess it all relies on the Durant's health. Which how many games has he played with Phoenix since
8?
He was traded to the Fighting Ishbias there in Phoenix. 8 games. So he hasn't really developed that camaraderie, but does he need it? I mean, he's an all-world type of player.
He's on a new team every year. He's used to it.
That's true. When it comes to winning. But yeah, I mean, if Phoenix can stay healthy, if Durant can stay healthy, they've got the experience. Chris Paul and Booker can shoot the lights out. He plays a pretty solid defense. On paper, you think that they could possibly be the representative. But then you look at Golden State coming in, I think they had the number 2 best chance to make it to the finals out of the West. And Sacktown went in there and took care of them. So 1-6 in the West is pretty deep. Barring injury, give me Phoenix out of the West. And this Giannis injury, a back injury, you don't just get over back injuries, and he's an explosive type of player. And if you don't get him near the hoop, and if he's not a disruptor, you can forget about it.
Most of his games played in the paint too, so he uses that back quite a bit.
Absolutely. Watching the 76ers play yesterday, they were pretty dominant. Can they withstand a long playoff run? I don't think so. Joel Embiid's a bit of a head case. I don't trust him. I like Boston. This is Boston's year. They've come really close the past couple. So give me Boston and Phoenix for the finals. Are we predicting the champion too?
If you want.
Yeah, if you want to.
Yeah. Give me the Celtics. The Boston Celtics gonna win the NBA.
I didn't know Mike Valenti was on this podcast.
Don't you dare. You dare.
I think when the lights were the brightest last year, that's when Tatum shut down the most. So until I see him get over that, I don't think they're going to make it. I would actually take Philadelphia over Boston. But I think it's Phoenix's year. I think Ishbia bought the team and made a huge splash with Durant. I really like their team.
Yeah. And talk about mortgaging the future. He gave up a lot for them. So, but they're also in a position where they could win, the next couple of years. So I think it paid out. Drew's good buddy Tim here, the fellow Buckeye. I disagree. I disagree. No. I think he's a big ball of hot air. But anyways,
that's kind of got a side note. So
another show.
You look at Ishbia, he went out and made the big splash with Durant. The Walton family went out and got Russell Westbrook when they brought the Broncos.
Yeah.
So it makes you kind of wonder what's Washington going to do?
You mean Russell Wilson?
Russell Wilson. Yeah, I was going to say Russell Westbrook.
Well, the first thing the commies should do is implode FedEx Field, because that's that place needs to go. They need to
change their name back to the football team.
Yeah, I agree.
Or the Redskins. Either or. I'll take either or.
Yeah. Rich, who do you got to win it?
So I'm reading here a little bit. So Giannis went down with an injury. He was driving to the paint. Blocking foul by Love, shot his 2 free throws, tried to walk it off and play, couldn't play. So it's still uncertain for game 2. Tyler Hero is going to be out, broken hand.
Oh boy,
he's done.
So that's tough. So
we had a question earlier about Ja Morant. Somebody said Tim said
So fell. And it appears that he re-injured his hand from an injury previous. It was more like a jam. So more to follow on that.
It didn't have anything to do about flashing a gun or anything like that.
You wave your piece at me. So so that was that. No, I think. I mean, I know you don't like Matt Ishbia, but I think when he took over for that team, he pretty much went in with a bunch of investors, himself and a bunch of investors, and pretty much I think they all lined up, whipped it out on the table. Whoever the biggest one got to control the team, and he went right. I don't think the ink was dry on the paper. He went out and made some splashes. So I think Phoenix is in a good position, not only for the championship this year, but they're also for maybe the next couple of years.
Well, you look at Ishbia bought into a team that was A, right there, and B, the league was looking for a way to get rid of their owner because he was a complete moron. So it was a perfect situation for him to come in and immediately make an impact. So, and knowing the competitive nature he is with Dan Gilbert, which, by the way, has anyone heard anything about Dan Gilbert recently the last couple of years? Haven't really heard his name, but knowing that competitive edge, he's going to want to come in here and get a championship under his belt early. So it doesn't surprise me that he's making an impact.
Just to say I did it, all right?
Right, exactly. Switching gears, we've got the NHL playoffs coming to start tomorrow night. This is Rich's wheelhouse. He's our NHL guy. We're gonna kind of shoot it his way. And again, predictions. I'll say this: there isn't a better playoff than the NHL Stanley Cup playoffs. From round 1 to the finals, it's as good as it gets, and you're not going to find another league that does it, and where you have an 8 seed that can legitimately win the Stanley Cup every year, and that's just so exciting to watch. And so, with that being said, you got some predictions, Rich. What are your thoughts going into this playoff run? I know you're a big Edmonton Oiler fan. So,
Houston Oilers.
Which, by the way, off topic, Luke Combs came out on stage with a Houston Oiler coat on last night, which was actually pretty cool. The fans were like, "What the fuck is he doing?" But anyways, the Edmonton Oilers.
Yeah. So it's going to be as kind of like you said, Tom. I mean, it's one of those things where every year the playoffs, they never cease to amaze anybody. You could have last year, Toronto was one of the, I'm not going to say they're the favorite, but they were one of the most dominant teams last year, get bounced in the first round. First year that Vegas was in the league, they went to the Stanley Cup finals. They lost out, but still, that's just like, you never know. Like this year, the Kraken are at this year, even though they're a wild card, and they are going against the Avs. the Avs do have some injuries, but I don't think those injuries are going to be more so that's going to give the Kraken the edge on that. So to kind of give you a breakdown in the West, I mean, the first series I got here, you got Las Vegas versus the Jets. I got the Golden Knights taking it in 5, and the reason why I have that, they're just too deep of a team. I think the only thing that might save the Jets and maybe even give the Jets a little bit of glimmer of hope is the play of Connor Hellebuck, and he at times has been stand on his head. There's been times where it just seems like nothing is going his way. He's sometimes, and he's the victim of like the bad puck luck, so to speak, right? So I got Vegas in 5 on that one. So my next one up I want to talk about is the Stars and the Wild. Okay. Is this going to be the last hoorah for Marc-Andre Fleury? Right. He's been around Pittsburgh. He was in Vegas.
Yep.
He was in Chicago last year. Now he's in Minnesota. So he's kind of made his way around. He's a very accomplished goalie.
And you hate to see the I don't know if he's great, but some of the better ones, you just hate to see them, bouncing around from city to city.
Yeah, it's very disheartening to see that because every player will tell you that they like to finish out their career where they got drafted, and you see a lot of them take the 1-year deals to sign with Pittsburgh and then retire as a Penguin type deal. But I honestly think the Stars are loaded. I mean, the Stars are unbelievably loaded. Their offense is great. They got a good backstop. But however, I still think the Wild are going to pull it out in 7. If it goes 7 games, I'm saying if it goes 7 games, the Wild are going to take it. If it, and that's one of those things where it's like if they can get past 6 games, then that opens up a whole another option of that. Oilers and Kings. Oilers have been on an absolute tear lately. Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl, their defense has been great. Nurse. The only shaky thing I have is their goaltending at times can be iffy, but I firmly believe that firmly believe that the Oilers are going to take that in 5. I do. The only thing that scares me is the Kings' ability on defense. Their defense is unbelievable, but I don't think it's going to be enough to stop. I don't think it's going to be enough to stop the Oilers. And then the Avs, they're going to take that series against the Kraken. They will. And I don't really have to expand on anymore. Other than that, I know they're going to take it, and that's probably going to be a 5. So we're going to move to the East. You got the battle of the train ride from Jersey to New York City. I mean,
Broadway.
Yeah. So that one right there, it's going to be interesting because you got the Hughes brothers playing together. Luke Hughes scored his first goal the other night. First goal in his NHL career, assisted by his brother Jack.
Wow.
And he was just days removed from the Frozen Four.
And that's the cool thing with the NHL. You saw that 2 years ago with Montreal and the kid from Wisconsin.
Caulfield.
Yeah, Cole Caulfield went right from the Frozen Four to making a huge impact in the playoffs for Montreal. So that's a pretty cool little thing that the NHL has.
Yeah, and I think that from a sentimental part, that's kind of a special series to, especially for the Hughes family. I mean, if you look at it, I mean, Kudo's mom and dad. I mean, they've plopped out some NHL stars.
Is there any more Hughes in the chamber?
I don't know.
But ended up at 3. That was all.
Yeah. So I mean, you got that. But the Rangers are loaded. I mean, they absolutely just loaded up this year. Getting Patty Kane, at the trade deadline.
Experience.
So I mean, they're absolutely. You got Panarin, you got Zibanejad. I mean, Shishnurkin.
Best hair in the hockey.
Yes, I mean, they have probably arguably in the East, probably one of the best offenses. Their defense can struggle at times. They're not a complete team, but I think that the Rangers are going to pull that one off. Canes and Isles. I'll tell you right now, if the Canes don't get it in 6, it's going to be the Islanders to lose, because it seems like every year, year in, year out, when the Islanders are on or in the playoffs, anything can happen for them. I mean, they are just gritty as all get up. So, and I think that's going to be one of those things where their goaltender, if their goaltender stands on their head, they're going to be in. Boston and Florida. I think Boston's going to absolutely sweep Florida. No ifs, ands, buts about it. I think Boston is probably the more complete team from top to bottom. I think they're the most complete team in the NHL, obviously, because they set the record this year for most victories, right? But I think from top to bottom, starting from the goal line to the center, goal line to goal line, they're the team to beat. So I got Boston taking that in 4. And then I'm going to stop last with the Toronto versus Tampa. Obviously, we all know Toronto hasn't won a playoff series since 2004. Which, by the way, is that series, it was a battle of Ontario. And the 2 goalies in that were Ed Belfour and Patrick Lalime. Those were the 2 goalies for that.
So that was
Belfour blows.
Blows.
So here's the thing. All time in playoff series where Toronto and Tampa have played each other, Tampa is 4-3-0 in series against them. So I think if Toronto and this is where you're playing the ifs. If you put a gun to my head and said who's going to win, I'm going to say Toronto. But Toronto better do it in 6 games, because if they don't do it in 6 games, they're losing again. And then we're going to hear it over and over again. 1967, bitch. The last time they won the Stanley Cup. So with that right there, so I'm just going to kind of give you a quick rundown of my thoughts. So the dark horse, according to BetMGM, the dark horse to win the Stanley Cup, some of the odds, Kings are at 2,200, plus 2,200. Wild are at plus 2,000. Panthers are at plus 2,200. Islanders are at plus 5,000. Go throw $5 on there. You never know. $5, win or lose. Jets are at 3,000. And Kraken's at 4,000. So, but they also have a thing. This is biggest disappointment.
Oh,
in the playoffs. So the biggest disappointment. They guess who's leading with plus 900.
That would be the Toronto Maple Leafs.
That would be the Toronto Maple Leafs. The Avalanche are plus 700. The Bruins are at plus 350. And the Oilers are a plus 700. So, given my prediction, this is my prediction right here. We're going to throw it back, okay? So, my prediction for the Stanley Cup, who's going to play in the Stanley Cup? From the Western Conference, it's going to be the Edmonton Oilers, okay?
Oh, cornbread in the oven.
It is, yeah. So, that one right there. If Boston can't make it, they're frauds. So I have
there was a team in 95, 96 that they just eclipsed.
I know
they were frauds.
Yeah, they were frauds
that year too. So
yeah, so I got the Oilers in Boston. Now I saw Tim. I think he just put a comment up saying biased opinion, go Avs. To be honest with you, I think it's going to be the Avs and the I think it's going to be the Avs and the Oilers. I think are going to be in the. I think it'll be in the Western Conference Final together. So that'll be an exciting series.
That will be ratings bonanza, I think, for the NHL if that was the case.
Yeah.
I'll get my pick. Obviously,
hold on, I'm not done yet.
No,
I just told you the 2 that was there, right?
Oh, okay. We're
I got the Oilers winning in 5.
Of course you do. Of course you do. Boy, that might be the biggest shocker of the night.
I'm looking for my Oilers. I'm looking at my Oilers stuff over here so I can put it on the screen. But yeah, no, the Oilers in 5.
Your ass better call somebody.
Right.
Yeah. If you didn't know, that's
I know.
his richest pick. So Edmonton. No, I think they're infamous for like Toronto. They come in with a lot of
Hype.
Yeah. And you look at who they have, McDavid and Draisaitl. It's like, how do they not win? They should be there.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna go. I agree with you, Colorado. They are just Cale Makar on defense, just unbelievable. They've got it top to bottom, and they're young, and there's no reason why they don't do what they did, similar to what Tampa did, going back to back in winning the Cups a couple years ago. So give me Colorado out of the West, and coming out of the East. I mean, I just don't think they're frauds. I don't think they're frauds. I think they're loaded. Boston, obviously, the president.
Goal line to goal line. Goal line to goal line. They're unstoppable.
Marchand, who's a huge fan of the city of Detroit, who I think I've got an elbow or two that I would like to hit him in the nose. But he's good. I think that's the thing that's hard. You want to hate the guy, but he's good, and he's a really funny follow on TikTok, by the way.
But so you bring him up. So back in our day, because we're a little bit older, so he would be the equivalent to Chris Chelios. Chris Chelios was a player that you hated to play against, but God damn it, you loved him on your team.
Yeah.
When he played for Chicago, oh my gosh, in Detroit they wanted to kill him.
Yeah,
they absolutely. Then they traded for him, and it was like everybody was like
hero.
Everybody was like, hop on the wagon, everybody.
Yeah, no doubt about that.
Yeah, so I think I see Tim's comment. The Avs and Oilers. Yes, the Avs beat them in 4 games last year. So it's called redemption. That's what it's exactly what it's called. It's called redemption.
It's called wishful thinking.
No, it's not. You want to put money on
it? we might be able to. We might be able to. We might be. Able
you know what? We will put a gentleman's bet of a beer.
Okay, that sounds good.
Not non-alcoholic for me.
Yes, of course.
And then whatever one you want.
But overall, winning it all, I got Colorado going in and
eating Tim's cornbread.
I don't. Christina's boss is a big Colorado fan, and he breaks it down. We have conversations. I kind of hijack her team's meetings sometimes when he's talking, hockey, because that's just what I do. But I just think they're built. They're built, and it's going 7 games. There's no question about it. So I like Colorado in that one. But that kind of moves me into, like you said, a gentleman's bet. It's
the Red Wings one day will be back there again. That is the picture from, they'll be back there.
They will be. Our fellow co-host who's not with us tonight, Drew, he's waving the white flag with the Red Wings, but we think we both tell him to pump the brakes. But
you mean get off my lawn, Drew? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, but it's usually he's texting this out after he's had about 13 beers and he spent a half a paycheck at the Pizza Palace at the games. But but moving forward, you mentioned gentleman's bet. It is time for Ain't My Money,
Not My Problem.
Not My Problem. So we're gonna bring JP back, the one, the only. JP the Giant.
And I was falling asleep during that hockey segment. I just
I bet you were.
So it's not your money, and we all know it's not your problem either. What'd you pick for the week?
All right, so I'm coming off of a loss here. Caitlin Clark let me down in the last one, so I'm 1-1 here. But I'm going to go with the closeout game tonight, the Nuggets game. I got Michael Porter Jr. to score 15-plus points. Michael Porter Jr. 3+ threes, and the Nuggets money line at +148.
Oh, that's a very detailed you throwing money at it that you don't care about and you don't have a problem with. So that's a good one.
Mm-hmm.
Rich, we know it ain't your money, and it clearly ain't your problem. What you got?
No, it ain't. I'll come back to me.
Oh, okay.
I forgot what
Okay,
bet
Drew.
I had on here. I forgot what, dude. I got it up right. I forgot what bet it was.
Oh, okay. Well, this one, I think my not my problem pick of the week. I think you're really gonna like this one, Rich. I think you really are, and it's kind of themed about what we just talked about in the NHL segment of how all hype, no bite in the playoffs. Game 1, Edmonton and the Kings. I'm going Kings money line plus 230. The puck line is plus 1.5. Give me the Kings to go in and take game 1. I'm not saying they're going to win the series, but they're going to go in and win game 1 with their flashy silver helmets. They're going to go in there flashing up and down Edmonton, and they're going to take game 1. Money line plus 230. Give me the Oilers. I'm sorry. Give me the Kings. I'm sorry. Give me the Kings.
Okay.
Freudian
All
slip.
right. So I am also sticking with hockey, and it is going to be Tampa at the Maple Leafs. I'm going to take the Leafs. It's plus 162 at 1 point, minus 1.5.
Ooh.
That game is in Toronto, correct?
It is. It isn't.
Oh,
It
that's going to be Battle of the Blues. That's going to be a really good series. I like that. That thing could go 7. They all could go 7. I think, and that's the beautiful thing about hockey.
Oh, we'll have to have a watch party, JP. You'll have to come over and watch some hockey with us. You know what? I probably got a jersey you can wear. I might even wear my Tyler Bertuzzi All-Star jersey that I got.
You got a cot I can lay down on?
Hey, so I bought that jersey at LCA,
otherwise known as the Pizza Palace.
Mm-hmm. Preseason. It was his All-Star jersey from the previous year. Dude, I paid $20 for this jersey.
How? Wow.
It was on sale.
That's incredible.
It was last year's. It was the first preseason game of the year.
I'll come watch some hockey as long as beer and food is involved.
That's a given.
Is that might be a rhetorical question, JP? Yeah. You know the speakeasy is very well stocked at all times. So.
I usually go for the closeout games with the Lightning when I can make some money on.
You can make some money on them.
Yeah.
But no, so for the show next week, I am 50-50 on. So I might be here next week. I might not be here next week.
You've got a tournament next week, don't you?
That is correct.
Well, we'll be here.
And
JP and I will be here.
In the following week, as long as it's not too late, I might be able to do it from London.
Oh.
Ooh.
So.
Ooh, table for one.
Talk about a lot of things draft.
Yeah, for sure. But good show, guys. Obviously, we talked Lions and into the draft's heating up. Rich, you got anything you want to say before we close it out?
Yeah. Next week, are we going to talk about pizza, or what are we going to be talking about?
Yes. We were going to do that today, but this week's show didn't get around to promoting it. We are asking our fellow listeners and viewers, what's your favorite pizza place?
Style, place, toppings.
Yeah. Just
it
whatever.
It doesn't have to be in Metro Detroit. It could be anywhere. If it's a place you had in New York or wherever.
Let us know on our social media. It'll go up on our Facebook page. I'll put it up on Twitter as well. Just let us know, and we'll talk about it next week. So that'll be kind of fun. We did it a couple weeks ago.
Break it down into two though, with chain pizza and the mom and pop pizza.
Yeah, we could probably do that.
Yeah, we can break it down like that.
Yeah, we'll hammer it out. But look forward to that next week. Like I said, look for the socials. We'll hit it out there. But yeah, that's it. We did that a couple weeks ago with the burger, and it went really well. Except Drew's like, "Yeah, I'd like to do a burger on the Blackstone." Not sure where he was headed with that one, but maybe he'll get it right next week.
No. The best was the 500 text messages after the show telling us all these burgers.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, you dumbass. Why didn't you? Why didn't you say during the show?
Days leading up to the show, we're like, what do you think, Drew? And just crickets. And then, after we're done recording, it's he comes up with 58 different places that he likes. But anyways, JP, cool. Got anything you want to close out with?
Yeah. Well, it's getting ready to get warm at some point. Everybody's kind of seen what's been going on in Detroit this weekend. So when you're out, just be safe, be vigilant. There's a lot of crazy people in the world right now. So everybody just stay safe out there.
Yeah, well said. And with the warm weather does bring out craziness, both on and off the water too. People are jumping their boats on it. You posted something on Facebook about the boat ramp line. Was unbelievable the other day. So definitely, my boat will be going in the water in the next week or two, and that is important. That's a great thing to say, JP. For me,
PSA, JP.
Yeah,
good public service announcement.
100%. Yeah. Yep. For me,
I'm talking about pizza. JP's talking about, hey, everybody, be safe.
Yeah.
Okay? And this has some pizza relevance. I can't wait until the day comes that we can go downtown in the early summer months to the Pizza Palace and take part in what maybe could be, winning sports down there with the Pistons and Red Wings. The Pistons got to do it right with this coach pick, and the Red Wings are, we still believe in the Yzer plan, and I can't wait till we can get back to those days of being excited in the summer, hearing that hideous April in the D song, which I actually never want to hear again if I could help it. But hopefully someday we'll get back to that very soon of going downtown and just, winning hockey, winning basketball. That would be amazing. But again, great show, fellas. We'll look forward to doing this again. It'll probably be back to our normal time next week. I was traveling back, like I said, from Nashville, so that's why we're on a little bit later. But with that being said, thanks everyone for watching, and we'll see you all next week. Thank you for listening to another episode of Easy Speak at Speakeasy 330. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. You can also catch us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. We look forward to catching you right back here next week for another fun-filled episode of Easy Speak at Speakeasy 330. Cheers.